Go ahead.
Thank you for attending our Doula and Dancer webinar. I'm so excited to get to talk with my friend Talea Dindy about her role as a cancer doula and how she supports the emotional health and recovery of cancer survivors, patients and survivors. And as we know, cancer can be very isolating, even when you have good support. And as cancer survivors and people who work with folks that are in the middle of going through treatment and after, we really feel dedicated to encouraging and uplifting others who are facing this diagnosis. So we're going to do a 30-minute interview style webinar with time for questions and comments at the end. You're also welcome to write them in if you would like. So I'm really curious about how a cancer doula brings comfort, reassurance, experience, and information. And so I wanted to turn it over to Talea and just ask you, Talea, to tell us a little bit about what is a cancer doula and just that, if you could give us a rundown on it.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you so much for joining me on this webinar. And I'm very excited to be here to share more information about what I do as a cancer doula. I am a 9-year cancer survivor myself, and my cancer journey is what prompted me to become a cancer doula. A cancer doula is someone who helps other people navigate their cancer journey to make sure that they get the support that they need, in addition to the services that are offered from their hospital or clinic. So I really like to start off by saying that I do not replace anyone on a person's healthcare team. I am complementary to, in addition to, the support that they get from their healthcare team. Now, I just want to give a quick explanation of what a doula is. A doula is someone who supports another person through major life changes and significant health related experiences. Most of you may know about a birth doula. They focus on the beginning of life. Deaf doulas focus on the end of life. And as a cancer doula, I focus on the present. So I help my clients walk through and work through the challenge of cancer that's in front of them so that they can create a better quality of life while in the process of navigating cancer.
How wonderful, Talea. And having had a birth doula, I know how instrumental that was in having a good experience and feeling taken care of when you're really feeling vulnerable. So I love the idea that you're doing this for people. What are some of the specific services that you provide?
Yes, actually, I focus on 4 key areas, and they are health, which includes nutrition and exercise. I focus on mindset and emotional support, communication, as well as doing the research for my clients about the type of cancer that they have, the treatment options that are available to them, the side effects of possible treatment options, as well as clinical trial research if they're interested in that, and holistic and alternative care as well, if they're interested in that as well. I also help them to talk about communication and come up with different communication scenarios when it comes to talking to their friends, loved ones, and their healthcare team and employer, if that's the case as well. Because I've noticed that a lot of times many people are uncomfortable talking about cancer.
Yes, they are indeed. And unfortunately, we all get to really learn how to do it, fortunately and unfortunately. When you say mindset, can you describe a little bit about mindset and how you work with people?
Absolutely. So, one thing that I learned on my cancer journey is that it's so important that we work through our emotions. And so, when I say that, I'm not saying to always be positive, always, just have on rose colored glasses. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is to work through the fear, work through the anxiety, work through the depression, and, don't get stuck there because there is a mind body connection. And what we think about, what we focus on, that flows down through our body. And if we're always stressed, we're always upset, that impacts our immune system. And we need our immune system functioning at its best as much as possible when we are trying to, work through cancer and fight cancer. So it's so important to let go, work through and let go of those negative emotions. Don't suppress them, but work through them.
Yes, I love that. And I'm in so much agreement with that as a therapist. And one of the things that I've noticed is that the mindset is so important when you're first diagnosed and when you're starting to, well, when you're going through treatment. In some ways, mindset is everything. And I've noticed a real difference between the mindset that people need to have and want to focus on when they're in the middle of treatment and then after. And I've really been educated by the people I work with about what's most important for them to focus on, um, depending on what stage they're at with their treatments. Have you seen that as well?
I have. Really, people are in a totally different space when they are newly diagnosed than when they are leading into survivorship because there's still that uncertainty, but it's a different kind of uncertainty. It's a different level of uncertainty. And yes, I have noticed a big difference. Some people struggle at the beginning when they are diagnosed, of course. And then when they reach survivorship, they do a lot better with their mindset. However, they've hopefully gained some key skills on how to navigate that new uncertainty when they enter into survivorship. Because now it's about, all right, the way that things looked before are totally different. So, how do I figure out how to move forward in this new normal that I have now?
Right. And Talia, what led you to get into this type of work after your own experience?
Absolutely. So for me, I had a great oncologist. I had the support of my family. However, I still felt like there was something missing, and that was the support of someone who had been there, someone who could help ease some of the uncertainty and just kind of give me an idea of what to expect. For example, the first time I went to get chemotherapy, or what to expect about side effects and things like that. So just having that person who could, really understand what I was feeling and not just say, hey, I understand, but truly understand, that's what I was looking for. That's what I was longing for. And also, I just noticed that there is a big gap in the medical community, particularly related to cancer, between the medical and emotional sides of cancer. Sometimes the doctors do a great job of healing you and healing the cancer, but they kind of leave out the emotional part of it. And a lot of people struggle in that area.
Yes. I often think and say that it is one of the least addressed side effects of the cancer experience is the emotional um, fallout and how people need assistance with coping.
So true. That's very true. Yes. And so those are the main reasons why I decided to become a cancer doula. And, I just wanted to take my experience and help other people. So those are the major reasons why. Just knowing that people need that emotional support and knowing that a lot of times we're not able to find it when we go to support groups and things like that.
Yes, wonderful. Well, thank you to Leah. And I'm sure people may have some questions at the end um, and some comments about it. But I love this idea that you are there for them. and for their emotional health. And it's basically like having company on a very difficult journey. And some people
Exactly.
are fortunate enough to have that, but many of us do not. And it's a very isolating experience.
Yes, I like to say to my clients that we're navigating cancer together because that's exactly what we're doing. And it's so important. I believe that it has a large part in helping someone to have a better outcome.
Yes. Well, the other thing I was thinking was that I wish I had known about you when I was going through cancer, when my husband was going through cancer, and then also about your research that you do for people. Because I do sometimes think that people are in a state of shock and they can be very willing to go along with the first recommendation that's made
Yeah.
because they don't really feel like they have the bandwidth to do a lot of research. So, could you say something about the research that you do?
Yes, yes. That's one piece of the type of support that I provide because I found that for a lot of people, just going through all that information and seeing the statistics, reading about it, that can be very daunting and nerve-wracking for some people. Naturally, I'm a very analytical person. I love to do research and that kind of thing. But when most people are newly diagnosed, they have enough to deal with just trying to accept the fact that they have cancer. And I just think it's so important to help people find credible information that they can use to make educated decisions about their care. And not
And
just
it's really
educated,
tailored to them, so it's not overwhelming them. So it
yes.
sounds like because you have a relationship with them, you're able to make choices about whether or not you're giving too much or too little.
Mhm. Yes. And it's really helping them to feel confident about the choices that they're going to make. I don't tell them what to do. I just present the information to them in a language that they can understand, and we talk through it. And then they can walk away with this information that's easy for them to understand, and they can feel more confident about making their decision.
Right. Talea, there are a couple of really good questions here. I think we might just go right into them. Or what do
Okay.
you think? Should we switch off and hold the questions till the end? I just got excited. One question was, how does the relationship work?
Okay. So basically, the relationship is done via Zoom. All the clients that I've had so far have been in other locations as far as the UK. So we can work together via Zoom or on the phone, however, people are most comfortable. If people are located within a 50-mile radius of me, I live in Minnesota, the Twin Cities area, then, we can meet in person. I also do appointment companionship because sometimes people just need that support and their family or their friends may not be available, and I can accompany them to their appointments if they're within my area. It could be in person. If not, I can accompany them, on the phone or via Zoom. So the relationship is basically we just have these biweekly calls or meetings, and we tackle the challenges that they're facing.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. And we'll save the other questions for the end.
Okay, perfect. All right, you ready to switch gears?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we're going to switch gears now and we're going to talk with Kelly Inselmann to learn more about what she does to support cancer survivors.
Yes. Hi, I'm Kelly Inselmann, and I'm a clinical social worker and a yoga therapist. And I work with cancer survivors really at any point in the cancer journey.
Okay.
And should I just go into my services?
And so, where does the name Joy Boots come from? Because that was one thing that when we first met, I couldn't wait to talk to you to learn about what that meant and where that came from. So, do you mind sharing with us where you got Joy Boots from?
Yes, I would love to. The name Joy Boots came to me after an experience that I had in a very intense yoga workshop when I was probably a year out after treatment for breast cancer. And so I'd done the yoga class and I was in Shavasana, the relaxation, and I had this image that came to me of myself uh, in a state of really feeling a lot of vitality in my body and in my mind, which was different from what I was experiencing at that moment. I was feeling really fatigued and was dealing with depression. And but I had a memory of being 5 years old, and I was given for Christmas, I think, some white patent leather go-go boots. Which, if you were around in the 1970s, you know that patent leather go-go boots were very popular. And so I was a stylish 5-year-old, and I these boots brought me so much joy. And I remember putting them on, and I have this recollection of being in the backyard of my house in Houston, Texas, and singing at the top of my lungs. I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart to stay, and I'm so happy. And in that memory, I could just really feel my body strong, my heart open, and really grounded. And later, I was talking about the experience, the memory that I'd had with a friend, and she said, "Oh, you had your joy boots on." And that thought stuck with me. That image stuck with me. And it became a somatic marker, like a memory that was really alive for me of a time when I felt very safe and alive and energetic. And I decided that I wanted more of those types of experiences in my life. And so I began to really work with myself and to make decisions on what I was going to do and who I was going to spend my time with based on, can I do this with my joy boots on? Can I be in a friendship with this person? Can I see these clients with my joy boots on? And if the answer was no, I wasn't going to have any chance of feeling that vitality, then I would really try to say no to those options and choices so that I could really have space and time to invite more joyful experiences. And it's been a very it's kind of a ruthless way of taking care of myself, and but ruthless in a positive way.
That's a great story. Thanks for sharing that with us. Just hearing you sing that song, it actually made me feel joy. So I can totally understand, why you call it joy boots. That's wonderful. And just being
Yeah.
able to reflect back on that time in your childhood is very important. And so, Kelly, what were some challenges that you personally faced during survivorship?
Well, I have been a psychotherapist for over 20 years and a yoga therapist for many, many years as well. And so you would think I'd have all these tools for um, avoiding depression and anxiety and just staying positive all the time. But what I found was that this was not an experience that I was going to be able to snap back from. I really experienced quite a bit of depression and anxiety. I had a new baby at the time. When I finished treatment, she was about a year old. And I really questioned my own ability to be a mother. I felt like I wasn't doing a good job that year when I was in treatment. And the other thing that I noticed that was very painful for me was that I felt numb a lot.
Mm, yeah.
Um, and and so I wasn't feeling happy, even though I thought, oh my goodness, I should be so grateful that I'm at the end of this year of treatment and ready to move on and take on the world. But I really felt numb is what actually I was experiencing. And it even felt hard to feel love that
Mm.
I was used to feeling with family members, and that really scared me. Um,
And so,
because
Kelly,
yeah,
how did you work past that? How did you get past those challenging times?
I really had to work with my yoga practice to really get back into my body and use all those tools. But Talia, I had to get in touch, to be honest, with the anger that I felt about the whole experience
Yes.
because I had always felt like it's not okay to be angry. You don't want anyone to know you're angry. You just want to have this kind of happy warrior facade. And so the more that I repressed my anger and didn't let people know, then the more numb I felt. And so that's why people who work with me know that I'm always wanting them to acknowledge when they feel angry and talk about it. And I push them to do that. And in part, it's very taboo in our society for women to complain, to show that they're angry, and particularly when you're going through a traumatic situation. People want you to be positive for them so that they can feel more comfortable. And so I was motivated to be able to feel love and contentment and happiness again. And so I got therapy. I was in group therapy. I did a lot of mind-body workshops. And that's a lot of what I'm trying to bring to my community, because it was kind of hard to find. Mostly I did activities and workshops that were not cancer specific. And so I didn't really feel like everybody necessarily understood what I was going through. And so I've really wanted to create group spaces for cancer survivors to be able to express themselves emotionally and not have to censor themselves. And also to go through different stages so that they can have an experience of joy boots themselves, that they can really internalize and move forward with.
And that's why what you do is so important. And I'm just so happy that you were able to take that experience and use it to help other people. And so, Kelly, how do you work with your clients? What kind of services do you provide?
I have been doing a weekly yoga class that's focused on emotional health with cancer survivors for the past 10 years on Wednesdays, and it's co-sponsored by our local Team Survivor. And these days it's online, and so people can really join from anywhere in the world if they would like. Just send me an email and I will put you on my list. And so we have a wonderful group. Usually we have about 20 people show up each week, and there's a lot of support there. We check in with one another, but we don't spend too much time on that because I think everybody's there to experience this internal shift towards energy and relaxation and letting go of depression and anxiety. And my goal is that people end up having experiences of joy boots through the class that they can move forward with. And then I also provide group therapy. I call them Joy Boots therapy groups. And I usually have one coming up, and I'm going to start a new one in January. And then I also do see people individually, either on a one-off basis or sometimes for a series of sessions.
Great, great. And so, Kelly, to wrap this up, what's the most important thing that you've learned that helps other people with survivors, with survivorship? What are some things that you've learned that helps cancer survivors?
The number one thing that I always am trying to repeat to people is to give yourself time and to give yourself grace.
Yeah.
And I say that because I did not give myself time or grace. I tried to jump right back into working full time. I was so mad about the way cancer had taken time away from me that I tried to go back to work full time immediately. And I couldn't do it. I could no longer push through fatigue and not listen to my body and my spirit. And so I ended up actually putting everything on hold for probably 6 months to a year. And then I came back in a smaller way that was a lot more nurturing for my body and for my spirit. And so what I try to recommend to people is that you take your time coming back, and that you let your support system know that you are not just going to be snapping back to how you were before and taking on all the burdens of everybody and the world, that you're still going to need some time for physical and emotional recovery.
I can definitely relate to that because that was one of the biggest challenges that I had when I went into survivorship. It was like I just wanted to get back into the swing of things. And honestly, it took me about 2 years before I really felt like I had my energy back. I felt like I could do a lot of the things that I, was doing before. And so that is a big area where a lot of people struggle. And, a lot of times the friends and relatives of a cancer survivor, they have that expectation too. And like you said, we have to give ourselves grace. We have to give our loved ones grace because just think about the things that the kinds of treatment that we've had to, kill the cancer off. That takes a toll on your body. And so it takes time for all of those things to rebuild. And just remember that it doesn't happen when the treatment stops. It takes time.
Yes, yes, definitely. And I
Yeah.
think it's hard for, people, we feel like we're on borrowed time after
Yes.
having cancer. And so there are things we want to get done and we want to take advantage and maximize every moment and opportunity. And so there's a bit of a paradox there that you have to work with.
Mm-hmm.
How
Yeah.
can you give yourself time? And then how can you also make sure you're focused on what's going to bring you joy and energy in the time that we
Absolutely.
all have?
Yeah. So true. I agree with that 100%. And so, Kelly, thank you so much for talking about, what you do and giving a little bit of background about your experience with cancer. And it's been a pleasure learning more about you and Joy Boots. And thank you for all the wonderful things that you do to support cancer survivors.
Oh, thank you, Talea. And I've loved learning about Cancer Doula. And I see that there's actually another good question about a Cancer Doula. So, were you going to let people know how they can get in touch with us?
Yeah. So first, I'll answer the question. And so the question says, are there any certifications or special requirements you need to be a doula or that should look in for
For a
a
doula,
doc-
I think.
for a doula? Okay. How do you go about finding a cancer doula? Okay. So I'm a cancer doula myself, and actually I have a coaching certification. It is not specific to cancer. I had a very hard time trying to find that for myself. And so what I've done is I've gotten a coaching certification. I use coaching principles as well as my experience as a cancer survivor. One of my goals for 2021 is to actually create a course for people that are interested in becoming a cancer doula. One thing that
Fantastic.
Thank you. One thing that I really like to mention is that I think it's so important, for someone to become a cancer doula that has been a cancer patient or a caregiver to a cancer patient, because there is nothing like having that real life experience. And it's so important in being able to really relate to people that are currently cancer patients. It's just so important. And so I'm hoping to be able to create a course in 2021 that will help people, focus on certain areas, certain skill sets. One of them that's really important is really listening to people, just giving them the floor and truly tuning in and listening to them.
Yes. I feel like because of the advances in medical science and treatments, there are all these people that like myself who are surviving many years beyond what we might have 20 years ago. And so in some ways we're having to invent the resources for emotional health and resilience.
Yes.
And so we're kind of in the middle of doing that as a society and as cancer survivors, knowing what we didn't have and trying to create it for other people moving forward because it brings meaning to us.
That's right. That's right. And you brought up a very good point. People are really living a lot longer beyond, their treatment and further into survivorship than they have in the past. And there's not a lot of things out there to support people, into survivorship. And the support that they have when they're receiving treatment, that's not, you know, where it really needs to be either. So it's it's like the medical community is kind of behind the eight ball with catching up with all of this. So it definitely is important for people like you and me to create these things and make this support available for people. It's critical. We don't have to wait for the healthcare system to create these things because we've lived it.
Yes, thank you.
Mhm. And so, does anyone have, how much does hiring a doula usually cost? Cost holds me back from looking for extra therapies like this for my mom. So, Brina, I think Brina Carlson, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Due to COVID, I have created hourly sessions, and those sessions are $125 for an hour. I also have coaching packages that are 3 months, and I have a VIP package as well as a core package. And of course, the core package is much cheaper than the VIP package. The VIP package includes appointment companionship, the core does not. So, those are the main differences between the two packages. If you're not ready or you can't afford to commit to a 3 month package, we can hop on an hourly call and we can do it that way as well.
And Talia, don't you have a Facebook group that people can join?
Yes, I have a Facebook group and it's called Navigating Cancer Together. And so that is one way that you can join that group and get support, just learn about different things. And I'm really working on building that community. I also want to note that I offer a free 45-minute consultation. And during that consultation, we, sit down and talk about the challenges that you or your loved one may be facing. And then we just see if it's a good fit. I explain to you, how I can support you or your loved one. And from that point, we just, decide if it's good for us to work together.
Wonderful.
Mhm. And any other questions? Does anyone want to take themselves off of mute and ask a question?
I have a question, which it from this presentation, it sounds like there is not a community of cancer doulas at present. And so you are starting to try to grow that. Is that part of what we're hearing?
That is correct.
Okay.
And let me, sorry to
Okay.
interrupt you. I just want to make it clear. Now, there's people that call themselves cancer coaches. And I started calling myself a cancer doula because to me, that's more personal. What doulas do and what the definition of a doula is more reflective of the type of support and the type of work that I do with and for my clients. And so, no, there is not a cancer doula certification or anything like that. There really isn't a community. There is a community of birth doulas and death doulas, but not cancer doulas.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to get that going.
Mhm. Wonderful.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. And I had one further question. Are you doing that mostly through your Facebook?
Actually, I'm actually working on growing my Facebook group. So it's via Facebook group. And then I also do work directly with my clients.
And the other word that comes up for me when I think about a doula is intimacy.
Mhm.
With a coach, that, if you think about going to a birth coach, they're like all about the breathing and kind of telling you what to do. Whereas a doula, during labor is there for you and for your emotions, and they're giving you a massage, and it's a very intimate and hands-on experience, which it sounds like you very uniquely bring to
Absolutely.
relationship with people.
Yes. And, I like to tell my clients that we're walking this together. I'm holding your hand. I'm helping to navigate you and work through the challenges that you may be facing. And so it's different from coaching because I'm not telling you what to do. We're talking about this. We're working through this. You're using me as a sounding board. I'm giving you resources. I'm giving you information. I'm giving you strategies to help you move through your cancer journey and hopefully make it a little bit easier to manage and help you to get the outcome that you desire.
Yes. Wonderful. Well, I'm noticing we're about at the end of our time. So do we want to let people know how they can contact us?
Absolutely. So I am going to share our slide. And I will start off and I just say, again, I offer a free 45-minute call. I have a Facebook group, Navigating Cancer Together. The name of my business, of course, is called On the Other Side. My website is ontheotherside.life. And you can reach me by email at talea@ontheotherside.life. And Kelly, do you want to share your information?
Sure. So I'm a clinical social worker and a yoga therapist, and I offer a free weekly online yoga class, and that's on Wednesdays at noon. And you can email me to get on my list and to get the Zoom link to participate and some background information. You can look on my website. There's a lot of blog posts on emotional recovery, because emotional recovery and resilience is my passion. Because of how difficult I found my own recovery to be. And so that's at kellyinselmann.com. There's lots of information. And I also have Joy Boots therapy groups that you can join. So if you're interested in an online therapy group, you can also email me and I'll tell you what the procedure is for that. I do individual sessions as well. And one thing that's not on here is that I've had a course on reconnecting with your life after cancer. And I have 6 principles for emotional recovery. So I've offered that several times before, and that will be coming up again in the spring as well.
Thank you, Kelly. And you all will receive a follow-up email with this information as well. And one final question that I have, and you can either send it to me or to Kelly, or you can respond now. And we're very interested in knowing if you'd like to have more of these webinars and if there's specific topics that you would like for us to cover. We would definitely like to continue this, but we want to make sure that it's beneficial to you. And we're interested in knowing what do you want to talk about? What do you want to learn about? So feel free to either put it in the chat or either email Kelly or I and just let us know your thoughts. So thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Leah, for
I
being
appreciate
here,
it.
being with me.
Thank you. Thank you. And so if there are not any other questions, we are going to wrap it up.
It's just a thank you for a very informative session. You're welcome.
You're welcome, Catherine. Thank you for joining us and taking the time to learn more about both of us and what we do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Take care, everyone. And this has been recorded. So I'm sure that Kelly will share this with you if you want to go back and watch the replay. And again, feel free to reach out to me or to Kelly if you have any additional questions or if you're looking for support for you or a loved one. We're happy to serve you. We're here to help. So thank you.
Thank you both so much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.